hardware, our system, the operating system that allows us to do what we do in the world, well, that hasn't changed at all. But what has changed is the demands on it. And here's the problem. Those demands are experienced inside us. And the inside of us is something we don't think very much about, do we? The interior life is something that has been essentially thought of as soft or hard to understand or not relevant. And we've invested instead enormous energy in understanding and mastering our external world. Could all the things that have happened to advance our technology be a better evidence of the fact that we have brought genius to managing our external world? But we have brought nowhere near that level of focus and energy and intensity to understanding our inner world. And that's where our capacity resides. Now, when you think about how you've met the demand that you're facing in your life over the last 5 or 10 years, and you imagine that it goes up, there are more things to do, what is it that you rely on to be able to get those things done? And the answer, of course, is time. You put in more hours, don't you? I'm sure that almost all of you out there are putting in more time than you were 10 years ago or 20 years ago over the course of a day. I mean, it's not just that we're working more hours, and most of us are, but even when you're not working, or quote, not working, when you leave the office, you might have walked across a parking lot daydreaming 10 years ago. That wouldn't happen in a million years today, would it? You'd be on your cell phone, wouldn't you? You'd be in a conversation, or you'd be pecking away answering emails or writing texts to people. That even unfortunately goes on when you're in the car. You're on such a radically greater amount of time than you were before. Now that's all fine, so long as you've got enough time. But what is the problem with time? We know that there is a fundamental problem with time, isn't there? And it's a very simple one. Time is finite. You've got 168 hours in the week. You're never going to have another minute. No constitutional amendment can change that. And guess what? Your dance card's already full, isn't it? You have already filled up every available hour in your day. And even if you haven't, if you were to work more hours, if you were to put in more time than you're putting in now, I'm going to guess that in almost every case, what you'd get from it is diminishing return on each hour invested. Because when you get past a certain number of hours, what you do is you increase the number of mistakes. Your fatigue sets in. You're less clear. You're less creative. You're less good in your relationships. So time becomes a resource that doesn't serve us nearly as well as it did when there was less to do. But we've got a problem. The demand's still rising. We've got to figure out a way to meet it. So what's the solution? And that's really what I've spent the last 10, 12 years thinking about, writing about, studying, and teaching. And the answer is, well, the good news is there is an answer. And the answer is energy. Energy is a resource that is powerful because it can be expanded. Now, of course, in physics, we know that technically energy can't be expanded. It can only be converted from one form to another form. But that's fine. You can convert glucose that you eat into energy you can use. There are all sorts of ways for you to convert existing sources of energy into energy you can use. And in addition, energy is something that you can regularly renew. You can refuel energy. Time is something in its finiteness that passes by and it's gone forever. But energy is something that you can renew and refuel. So then you got to ask yourself the question, well, what is energy? I mean, it's easy to say energy, but in practical, concrete terms, what's the meaning of energy? So let's go back to physics. What does physics tell us energy is? Well, physics tells us energy is the capacity to do work. That's pretty simple. And that's exactly what we want. What it means is, if you have more energy, you have more capacity. So if I can teach you, if I can help you in the short time we have together today, and I think I can, to cultivate more energy, you're going to have more capacity. You're going to have more fuel in your tank and more ability to face the demands that are on your plate.